As we draw nearer our centennial episode of the award-winning Jawn, we thought we would provide a little background information for our newer viewers. What started in the mid-1970s as just three young model railroad enthusiasts getting together on the weekend to review the Lionel train catalogs and help each other with letters to the editors concerning local issues quickly evolved into three young collectors of coins and old English thimbles who would meet at the one tavern in town to pretend we enjoyed drinking warm beer and eating greasy fish sticks. After years of not making much progress, we of course jumped on the CB radio craze sweeping the nation. Nathan was able to obtain a CDL license from a guy he knew in Verona, so we would monthly ride the dark highways, three to the cab in a mighty Freightliner, broadcasting our opinions on current music and movies. After much attention from Smokies and county deputies looking to make a name for themselves, we gave up trucking and worked at a Radio Shack until the advent of the computer. Basically, that is where we stand now. Fresh from the retail market and comfortably seated in easy chairs around a roaring fire discussing the thoughts that we all think. I can't stress enough how much we enjoy the letters and phone calls suggesting topics to discuss and informing us that you have named your firstborn child after one of us. It makes us really happy. Hope you're able to join us tonight and take part in our lives. There is no fee to join and we profit share, so it's a no-lose situation, quite honestly. Make yourself a bourbon and pull up a park bench. We want to talk to you.
Three little frogs sitting on a log. One of them fell in. One frog said to the other frog, well, you better go get her. Two little frogs sitting on a log. One of them fell in. Last little frog, he sat and thought, good thing they can swim. Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn. Three little frogs sitting on a log. One burst into a grin. One frog said to the other frog, wonder what's got into him. Two little frogs sitting on a log. One laughed until he is red. Last little frog, he sat and thought, must have been something I said. Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn.
Actual fishing.
No, that's not necessarily.
I hope that is.
You could start meeting me over at Lake Town and it's just all spring. We're fishing before you know it.
Can you eat anything out? They stock it. They do stock it. Hey, and we're live. Hello, welcome to Jabber Jawn. I'm Nathan Moore.
I'm Kyle Hogg.
I'm Steve Moore.
What you holding up there, Kyle? You sending signals to the
I'm
you're
holding
like
up
a
something.
prisoner here.
I'm holding up something beautiful but annihilating.
Is that's the sticker you got?
Yeah.
I didn't. It looked like two stickers when you were holding it up. No, I see it's just one.
Lex gave us all a sticker today, and this is what I got.
I got a magician frog.
I'm not going to tell you what I got.
Oh, his is
I
for
wanna-
private use only.
I want to start to show at a little higher level.
His,
than I usually take it in the dump real quick.
And now you have every angle in the world to go there.
Behave tonight. That's
Now, look
my
at that.
goal.
We are turning over a new leaf, folks. You might have noticed that we Lex read the intro tonight, so that's a new twist.
Man.
All kinds of developments
Excellent
happening
job.
here.
man, he did. He used to be doing commercials.
We usually start with an arriving song and end with a leaving song. I guess we'll keep that tradition alive here. Talk to us in the chat. I see Ben on Facebook, so that's working. That's good. Let us know that you're out there so I can see all the chats working from all the places. YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. Say hey in Discord, and we're off. Oh, by the way, I got the guitar back from the luthier where it's split down the middle. It now has 4 cleats on the inside of it, making it stronger than before. So it's broken but stronger than ever. And I got my 3rd issue of this hat that I love and sent the other 2 back. This is a 7.5. So I sent back the.
That have that little tag on it that was so cute.
I know. I feel like my mini pearl. Is that the? Am I saying that right? My mini pearl days are over. It was a little sad pulling the tag off, but yeah, I did a whole practice with that 7 5/8 one with the tag dangling down. I was getting a lot of good laughs out of that. Sort of missed that shtick, but this is committing. Sent the other 2 back today. Got a refund on it. Hey, tech support. And the 3rd thing that makes me feel like I'm just a transformed man is Willie T. Taylor made this strap for me, and I finally got it. Look at that. 2 lemons, my last name. I feel like I gotta go do a show somewhere, so I gotta get out there in the world now. I really feel like I'm ready for the world. Which no one has heard me say anything like that in years.
Well, you are going to High Sierra.
I am going to High
You
Sierra.
ought to do a couple shows to warm up for that.
I really have to. I
Then
definitely.
you got to ride the momentum afterwards.
Yeah, keep it going.
Why don't you, get in the car with a cute little girl and a good friend and just drive back across the country and, do shows along the way.
Do shows along the way.
Yeah, what we could do.
Like Hippie Fiasco rides again.
That's what. That's what.
Where
it
the
was.
temptation of Hippie Fiasco to ride again is always out there, but I doubt that'll ever happen again.
No, I don't know.
Who am I? I shouted on the corner of 2 streets. Who am I when looking to the bottom of a bottle? Look, I can put it on my strap. I'm somewhere between Baudelaire and Mad Magazine. Just sitting there. Full throttle. But I don't think God makes mistakes. And I don't think I'm really doing wrong. But some days I think I don't know what I'm thinking I could ever write this world a song. Who am I? I played on a stage last night in Georgia. Who am I? I ate eggs in Mississippi. And on the phone I could hear it in her voice, she was naked. And I could tell she didn't miss me. I don't think God makes mistakes, no. And I don't think I'm really doing wrong. Some days I think I don't know what I'm thinking I could ever write this world a song. Take it, Kyle. Lexus is begging for more over there.
I ran out of breath.
Yeah, that happens. Nailed it. Who am I? My name. There is no stranger word. Who am I? My mother doesn't recognize me. Why would I insult this pitiful world? Looking into the eyes of such beauty, I don't think God makes mistakes, no. And I don't think I'm really doing wrong. But some days I think I don't know what I'm thinking, thinking I could ever write this world a song. Thinking I could ever write this world a song.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, nice work, Kyle.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Man, we have stepped our game up tonight.
I tell you what,
That was awesome, Kyle. You have been practicing.
he was ready. I didn't even. I had my eyes closed the
I
whole
walked by his
time.
house the other night, and I thought I heard him in there playing.
Oh, he was
But-
doing the scales.
Sometimes he sounds like the way he has to go to the bathroom. Too, which I couldn't tell which it was, but that's
He's either murdering a duck or he's practicing
He's
his
practicing
kazoo
his
in there. I
kazoo.
tell you what, either way, I'm impressed.
exactly.
Either way, it's just good to see him doing something
With his life.
with his life. Oh man, and we're back.
That's what, instead of Guthrie with his little, this instrument kills fascism, this is what I have on my kazoo.
All right, what's it say again?
Well, I would just say beautiful but annihilating.
Annihilating beauty. Steven,
I-
welcome.
the-
Good to see everybody. Swaber.
The problem that I have is why Lex thought that was the best one he could find for you, because that doesn't really sound like you. Or,
I think it does.
it does it?
Feels like it, when
feels
I
like-
read it, I instantly picked it up and I showed Corey. I was like, this seems like something Kyle would write.
Oh, okay. Now that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I can see it.
But I don't ever see him as being annihilating personally.
Right, right.
That's what I was thinking it through.
He thought that because
Well, he annihilates expectations of what word is coming next.
Oh my God.
Just the concept is like beautiful but annihilating, and just the contrast of it, and just some of the stuff that you write. For the
well, thank
intros
you.
Kind of
Yeah, I
can be
can-
a
I
little
can see-
jarring in that way.
I
like,
can see his
whoa,
writing, but as
Yeah.
a person, he
Right,
is not.
No,
He,
no.
I would have to dare say he's neither.
I had to get him.
Right.
He's in there annihilating something. it
I
sounds
mean,
like.
nothing in that suggests him.
Did you ever reach out to that author that's trying to
I
track you
did.
down?
It's so.
I got this great email through my website of somebody that found some of Kyle's writing from an old zine and searched the internet trying to find Kyle Hogg so he could interview him for his book or something, and found Jabberjawn, reached out to me on my website. Is there any chance that this Kyle Hogg that's on the Jabberjawn show is the author of this old piece? And I sent that to Kyle, and and that was you.
It's actually a cassette I put out.
It was a
music.
cassette you put out.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
mean?
It's like his greatest hits album, right?
When I worked at a record store, and it was when I was doing my bold print, but I had an idea to get everybody that I worked with to record like a song or a spoken word piece or something.
Oh, wow.
And so I made those and tried to sell them through different little magazines and bold
Wait a
print stuff.
second. How did y'all record it?
Just on I had like an old boom box with a microphone. I mean, some of them were like professional bands that gave me stuff. And then people just said that was when cassettes were big, so I guess everybody had like a, you could like do the when the radio was on, you would tape your favorite songs. They
Oh,
could
yeah.
do like that. It's pretty funny. It's got some humorous stuff. It's got I think 4 local Richmond bands on it. So I had a good time.
Do you still have a
doing it.
copy of it?
Yeah, that's. I only have it on cassette. He wanted me to try to digitalize it so he could listen to it. So,
I could maybe help you with that.
but it's funny because when you told, because you sent it to me the day after, I got a friend request on Facebook from this guy. I didn't have any clue who he was.
Oh wow.
But it said we have one friend, which is this guy named Andrew Staples. That when I was growing up in Stanton, Andrew lived in Goshen or something, like out in the middle of nowhere, you know. I hope he's not one. He's just a really strange guy. But he would make like cassettes, like just weird noises and stuff on cassettes. And he found out about me through Bold Print, so we hung out a little bit. But he was sort of well known in like the noise music industry, like just. So that guy knew him as a Facebook friend. So I just accepted him as a friend. Thought I don't even know who this clown is. And then the next day you sent me that. I was like, oh, this clown's actually somebody that's sort of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And he's working on a book?
He said he had one book out. It came out in 2020. Some German publisher did it 500 copies and it sold out.
Oh wow.
So he got nervous and somehow you can make it available on Amazon, on Kindle or something. So now he's working on a new one because that one sold out. So I guess nothing fires a new project like the success of the one before it. So yeah, so he sent me a list of questions to work on and stuff. It's gonna be good.
Are you just helping inform his book, or is there going to be a section of it that's an interview with you?
That's what I asked him. I said, do you just want general answers to just compile to go with like the general feel of that time period, or do you want like it's going to be me, like an interview with me or something? And he suggested I read his first book. So somebody told me you can download a Kindle app on your phone, and then I could read, get the first book and read it. He said that would probably be easier because I would know what he was looking for.
Cool. I have a Kindle too if you need to borrow
Oh, okay.
it. I don't use it as much as I should.
Yeah, that was very. So I thought he was friends with you. So you didn't know who he was?
No, it was a random email on my website.
Oh, I thought he was somebody you knew.
Contacts, use the contact page on my website to be like, is there any chance the Kyle Hogg from Jabberjawn is this Kyle? That's cool.
It is crazy how this stuff can, one little thing can lead to something. And he said he found out about me because he was reading a 1989 edition of some old magazine that they interviewed me, and I had talked about that cassette.
Wow, that's so amazing. Yeah, if you need any help digitizing that
that'd be
stuff
great.
too, I can
Okay.
definitely help you with that.
That'd be wonderful.
Easy peasy. Well, thanks to Swabertooth on our Discord, from our Discord gang, we all collectively have been watching this bald eagle cam in California. You might find it fascinating, but it's this camera, HD 24/7 on YouTube, on this bald eagle's nest. And it's
I bet they got two little chicks.
Yep, you've heard about it. How do you know about it?
I watched you a little bit last night.
Oh, you did? Oh, nice.
Yeah. I was kind of sick
Oh,
and couldn't sleep, so I watched everything on Netflix. So I started watching you.
oh, it's a good place to be. It's a
Yeah,
nice little
yeah.
little hang on the World Wide Web.
Oh yeah, there's always good energy there. We were talking on the way over. I'm just so impressed that you've done it that long, consistently like that. It has to be some nights you just don't feel like doing it.
Every now and again, I'm in a mood, but
I mean,
not as often as
That's
you
just
think.
normal. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
About 95% of the time, I'm all about it, and then every now and again,
that's the feeling you get. I haven't heard any of them. I've seen any of them where you just look like you're not happy to be
I usually
there.
delete
I would
those.
suggest you go to bed. Just hi, bye.
They're every
Because everybody that watches it, that knows you and watches, would understand.
right.
Because they're just. I think that's impressive.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the this cam is pretty amazing. Apparently it's been up there for years, and so last year there was this whole drama because they laid 3 eggs and they never hatched. So all these thousands of people are tuning in every day to see this And it's, you know, it's a heartbreaking moment when the parents just eventually have to abandon it and just sort of give up that collective hope as well. This is pretty interesting. So it's the same couple, apparently, these two bald eagles, Shadow and Jackie, and they laid 3 eggs, and 3 days ago, 2 of them hatched. And today, there's some action on the 3rd egg. And apparently the first initial hole, they call it Pip, which I couldn't understand what they were saying on Discord all day. I was like, why do you keep saying Pip? Because our cat's name is Pip. So I was just all confused. It broke my brain a little bit. Like, what do you oh, the initial little hole that they peck with their little beaks or whatever in the egg is called the Pip. So the Pip formed today on the 3rd egg.
Now, is this something you have to be there live to see it, or can you?
They do have, like, on the channel, you can see highlights, some little. So we tried to see that we didn't find that, and I was late for my haircut, so I didn't really deep dive. But as I was looking for the action on the 3rd egg, I did for the first time see the Shadow, the male, bring a big carcass and just drop it on it's just so. In fact, here.
Was it human?
Oh, there's the Pip.
Beautiful but annihilating. Hey.
Oh, right. We have it on manual focus. Never mind. That's not going to work.
Have the babies been named yet?
No, not as far as I know. Here it is, the Big Bear Bald Eagle Live Nest.
Sounds pornographic.
It's pretty cool. It goes to night cam at night. So last night I had it on screen with me the whole time.
Oh.
I even had to, like, stop a song at one point because, like, I hadn't seen the eaglets yet. So I had to go full screen with that. But they're...
You know, it'd be great if you should somehow go out there and, like, just all of a sudden climb up in the nest beside him and start playing a song.
Just look at that. Look how amazing that is. I even last night, because it's so small on my screen, I couldn't tell. I was like, no, it's moving. It's still raining.
Wait, so this is live right now?
It's live right now.
Where is it?
In California.
And it's snowing?
And
wow.
it's snowing. Yeah.
Where
Look
in
how
California?
beautiful
I didn't realize till I was time stamping last night that it was snowing the whole time. I just thought it was raining on them. But it's...
Where in California, Nathan? Do we know?
I don't...
Rough.
I read that, but I didn't
What a
retain
life.
it. I think it's Southern California.
So the whole nest is covered in snow?
Yeah.
And are the babies
Jackie's-
underneath there?
Underneath the mom, yeah.
Oh, they're underneath the mom. Gosh, that's crazy.
Big Bear Bald Eagle Cam on YouTube. Right now, 57,000 people are all watching these birds together.
Oh, that'll spike after this plug.
Oh, I just saw it tick up.
And our viewership has dropped to 0. Thank you, Nathan. We can say whatever we want now.
Yeah, I was
No
gonna
one's
say.
watching. I'm going to play the kazoo again.
Yeah, we can entertain ourselves. Let's pick another one.
Your dad can read what his sticker says now that nobody's watching.
I'm sorry you've been under the weather this week.
It's been a rough week, but it's rougher for a lot of other people.
You said it was a cold?
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know what it was. I woke up with it Monday morning, and I'm still real congested in my chest. But yesterday and the other day, it was all in here, and I was sneezing, and just had a cold.
Mm-hmm.
I'm calling it. They call it all kinds of things, some virus, but I'm gonna go with the old-fashioned cold, and today I'm a lot clearer.
That's good.
Because I was having trouble breathing, and plus I'm having trouble with my tummy getting too big. So
Mm-hmm.
I
Have
need to
you
get that.
looked into...
Yeah, I called. They're going to call me back. There's some issues there, but
Mm-hmm.
we'll try to get that done. And then you want to talk about that thing? I can't remember what I called it.
The stretch?
the stretching.
Assisted.
Oh,
Assisted
right.
Stretching.
It's just I might get that scheduled next week. So I have a doctor's appointment, and now we're talking about a haircut.
Yeah,
I
mate.
might just have to
Brand new.
just be busy all week. 'Cause, usually I only have 1 or 2 days where I have to do anything.
You should get a 24-hour camera to film you this week.
Yeah, talk about hippie fiasco rides again. We can just follow you around.
Yeah, if they had one of those cameras on me, everybody would be shaking that thing and it was broken. It hadn't moved in an hour.
Sort of like the Eagles.
I think he's dead. I swear.
Someone called
I think we ought to
911.
call somebody. I've been watching him for an hour. Oh.
Did you
But
see?
mentally I'm all right. It just brought me down. It's kept me from socializing, and I've missed human beings. That's one reason I'm here, and I wanted to do it. And I'm real thankful that I'm feeling well enough to be here.
Yeah, me too. It's one of my least favorite things in life, and I don't want to jinx you with this thought, but a lot of times when I get a cold, I don't mind the first few days, but then it just hangs on. And that's just one of my least favorite things in life. And after you think you're getting better, and I don't want to jinx you at all with this, but it's just sort of flashing through that in my brain. I just get so upset when it just hangs on. Winter will do this to me a lot of times too. Spring,
Right.
you think, oh, we're going into spring, and then it doesn't happen, and the winter comes back with a vengeance, and all those little spring flowers die or fooled by it, and just some things hold on too long.
That's called assisted stretching.
Oh, right, we were moving into a whole nother topic.
Well, that's when the winter goes or the cold goes. It's getting assisted stretching. It's lasting longer than you normally want it to.
See if any of our viewers know about this this idea that Dad's discovered that he's intrigued by. So where'd you first? It's called assisted stretching, which is actually a form of massage to a certain extent.
Well, it's a physical therapy, and I think a lot of massage therapists have it as a tool, but I don't really know. I'm going to find out. A friend of mine went, and I have a bad neck injury, and I've been wanting to have somebody come in and work on it and see what they could, like a massage therapy type thing. And then I heard about, my friend was telling me about this, and the lady that does them said she could probably help me. So, and you can get a 25 or a 50-minute session. But when I just Googled it right before I came over, so I don't know anything about it, which is why I brought it up, not to talk about it, but to find out about it. So that's just out there for if anybody's. But I looked at it, I Googled it, and there are like 3 or 4 different therapists in the Stanton area that do it. So it's obviously very common. But I was just thinking, I hadn't heard the term before. And I assume it's more stretching than massaging. I don't know. So I was just
Right. I mean, I wonder where chiropractic. I can't say that word.
I don't know what he's saying.
Chiropractor, but how do you say the procedure?
Yeah.
That's breaking my brain.
Yeah.
Chiropractic.
Chiropractor.
But that's the guy. That's the practitioner. What's the practice called?
Oh, chiropractic.
Right. That's
not
what I was
easy.
trying
Yeah,
to
it's
say.
A little bit of a tongue.
But I wonder if
I called it quackery.
right.
That's what
I that's plausible. I don't know what's going on
it's
with that.
easier to say.
We got Charles Dickens over here beside us now. God, I don't think I've ever heard the word quackery said out loud before. You read that.
I definitely.
now.
I've always had friends
great word.
that did the whole like cracking your back thing, and it's pretty. I mean, it's palpably relieving, but it's also very scary.
It could be disturbing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's. But you know what I'm talking about? Where like
Yeah.
you put your hands over your eyes, or they grab you from the back, and it makes an audible sound of your bones. And
That is interesting. I don't know anything about that either. Mm-hmm. We're full of subjects I don't know anything about.
well, that's welcome to Jabber John, folks. We ask the questions.
Next week we'll read the answers. One of our
Right.
I want to talk about quackery now.
quackery is all around us.
Now, do you think when you were growing up, was quackery more popular in Stanton or more prevalent?
Well, nobody called themselves a quack.
Yeah, but did anybody? Should I change that?
I believe,
Just
and I
straight
don't
out.
think maybe it's just me, but I thought when I was growing up that chiropractors in general had the reputation as being quacks. Now, I know some very good, legitimate
Quacks.
chiropractors that aren't quacks. I mean, don't get me
Right.
wrong, but I'm just saying when I was growing up, and I don't know where that came from or why it was said, but they didn't act like they were true doctors, that they were just kind of playing around, which was probably a myth, you know. But I don't know. I don't know how you get that reputation.
Right.
But you know, it's a different license for one thing. And
We should open up a business downtown just called the Three Quacks, and just
Just
see what people come in there and ask for.
Yeah, and we'll just try to meet. We'll just try to meet their demands, whatever they are. What?
Do either one of y'all do this?
What can
Well,
we do
yes,
for you? That's our line. Just what can we do for you?
And then come back next week.
Right. All right. Well, yeah, I think we could probably help you with that.
Give us a second to go look it up and see what it is you're talking about. Oh yeah, we can do that.
we can do that.
we do that all the time.
First of all, you're gonna need this bottle of tonic we made ourselves.
Three quacks.
Rub that tonic on your shoulders for a week, then come back. We'll see what we can do for you.
There's some things that seem to like they are. I'm thinking of like electroshock therapy, where like it was brought out as this big life-changing thing in like psychiatric wards and stuff, and then it was cast off as like sheer quackery and this horrific practice that. And then now it seems like it's coming back in vogue.
Oh, it
now
is?
people are like, no, wait, not too fast. Sometimes it works. And so like it went from this new cure to like a full-on fraud quackery thing, brutal, barbaric, to like, it seems like there's some research now where it is very effective for certain
It's more
situations.
advanced now, though, isn't it? They don't put
Probably
They
is.
don't put like a spoon in your mouth and wrap you in a wet towel.
Right.
Right.
Right. What's the other thing that I'm thinking of with psychiatric wards, like
Lobotomy.
maybe is that what I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
Cut some of the brain stimulus or something.
I did hear a story recently about certain patients that are experiencing epilepsy, and it's almost like the equivalent of having a pacemaker for your heart to kind of like get the rhythm back going again. It's this little thing that they implant, and when it senses what the activity that's going on, and once it senses the conditions that need to be met to have an epilepsy,
A seizure.
a seizure, sorry, it will do this thing. I don't know if it's shocking or what, but it does something to reset that region and prevent that that episode from happening. And there was a patient talking about how they can live a normal life now, like they can drive cars, because she would have them just out of nowhere and frequently, and now she hardly has them.
Wow.
Amazing.
Talking about pacemakers, I read that you can leave on your will now. You can't use pacemakers. Like if you had one, you couldn't give it to me if I needed it, but you can use them on animals. So if you have a pacemaker, you can donate it to the local veterinarian or whatever, and they can use it for animals.
Weird. And a pacemaker is something installed on your heart, sort of like inside your chest.
You know?
That's a trip. How do you swap the battery out on that?
I think they just give you that electric shock.
Just charging your battery.
It's like Iron Man when they have to.
But there's got to be a battery on it, right?
We only live so long.
Yeah, but a battery only lasts so long. We don't have any battery that lasts. I mean, it has to always be going.
Maybe your heart pound.
That's what I was wondering, is if
I don't
our
know.
circulatory system or some way powers it.
Once again, we've discussed.
Welcome to Jabberjohn, folks. We ask the
Absolutely nothing
questions.
about.
Once again, we've discovered that a pacemaker is other than something a quack would sell you.
Oh yeah, pacemakers.
It'll last forever. Don't worry.
All right, this quackery issue has segued into something I would like to talk about.
Oh, good. Look at that.
If you're ready to
Who
go.
knew?
Yeah, okay.
This is replacing the lesson. I don't have a lesson to go. I have number 3, but I don't want to do that tonight.
Okay.
But what I was going to just suggest that we talk for a moment about science. And so the first question is, what is science?
What is science? I guess science is a field of study based on experimentation and like having a hypothesis about how the natural world works, and then testing that hypothesis with experimentation and trying to come up with results that can be confirmed by other people doing the same experiments or similar experiments. Is that all?
Wow.
That's a beginning of a definition.
That's a good start. What do you say? What came to your mind?
I was thinking, well, what he said was beautifully said, but then I thought, how's that tie into science fiction?
Mm-hmm.
You say it's the same thing, but it's fiction? Or they just use the word science?
Now,
I know.
my interpretation would be that it's fiction and it's somebody's creation of their mind. They made it up, but they followed the rules of science as we know it up to that point.
Oh, good grief.
That would
Right.
That's
If they
That's
hadn't
the
done that, it
difference.
would be fantasy or
exactly.
genre.
Good
that
grief.
would be exactly.
Y'all better
Yeah.
be recording this.
No,
part.
we maybe actually
Man, we're getting on to something now.
Yeah, that
sounded
would
like
be-
we might have known something for a second. We better watch our
Yeah, we
step.
better be
I
careful.
know it.
Getting too big for our britches.
Right. Looks
Doesn't
like
take
much.
much.
Doesn't take much.
Someone's gonna hold me down and shock me again.
I
I'm giving out the secrets.
Yeah. We're gonna activate our implants here in a second. If we're not careful.
Yeah.
Well, so what do you think science is?
Well, that's I think it's real. You said a lot of good, correct and very well said. That was a good answer.
Oh, good.
And I think, the first thing I'd say would be it's a method of studying, which is exactly what you said. So you can be scientific in your approach to pretty much any issue, except issues that can't be studied scientifically.
Mm-hmm.
How much you love someone cannot really be, you can try to study scientifically, but you're never going to come up with a conclusion because there are too many things you can't measure.
Mm-hmm.
There are just too many. So that's the thing I was really going to is what does it mean to study something and how does a scientist study it? And you covered it pretty well with the idea of the experimentation.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're talking about an experiment, and the one thing I wanted to bring up is what I see in the world today is so many people look at the whole thing and say, this conclusion, we do this drugs and the commercials on television about how this works and everything. The thing I'm saying is, what you get to get an experiment, which is the great word of scientists, an experiment has to only have one thing that you're studying. We'll call that thing the variable. You have to study one thing, because if you have more than one thing, you cannot measure which thing does which the most if you can't measure them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the mistake I see so many times. that you do this, like when they say, it could be, well, I'll give you, I think the first thing I would think, black people are more likely to do this. But in a certain study, they might be doing a black neighborhood, which was all one race of type of people, and it was a genetic thing, not, it could be, in other words, there are things in there they can't measure. Poverty, how much does that play?
Social structures.
When you talk about drug abuse, how much, how many different variables are there? But one of them would be poverty, there'd be, so, that's the hard thing about studying something scientifically, is to make the experiment only have one variable, so when you measure the change, that's what caused it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so much I see out there talking about things are because whether you're just arguing.
Isn't there a danger in terms of your example of like focusing on one variable and missing other variables that are actually creating the effect that you're
the
attributing
effect,
to the one variable you're focused on?
Exactly, and then what we call that is the hidden variable. A lot of times the variable won't even be known for years, because we just didn't have that information. We hadn't learned anything about that. And then you come in later and say, oh, that's what was causing this, and it wasn't even related at the time. So, and that's the other thing about science, is scientists will change their mind, because that's what you're doing. You're studying something to find out what's true. You're not looking at it from the way you thought it should be. And that's, people that don't think scientifically, that's one of the issues that we have.
Mm-hmm.
You're not analyzing the real data and getting it down. You're not concerned with that. You just have your opinion.
Right.
Based on.
And they don't even realize they're orchestrating the experiment to prove their false
they don't even
hypothesis.
They know what they know.
Mm-hmm.
So, to say you're, scientific thinking is just to mean you're trying to find the right answer, and you're not afraid to admit when you're wrong, because that's what you're testing. Right. You're testing life, not, telling life what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm off my soapbox.
But from what I've read and heard, and just the little bit I know, aren't a lot of great discoveries just discovered by accident? They're studying one thing, they're like, oh, I just read like Ozempic. They were studying some other thing, on sheep or something. They're like, oh, this will cause weight loss. Like, they weren't even worried about that. They just, I think maybe insulin or what LSD, when that discovered, they were trying to do something else, and the guy just took some and.
Mm-hmm.
Spilled it on his hand or something, didn't he? He was exposed to it
accidentally.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, there's all kinds of stories.
I wonder what he was trying to do.
Light bulb.
What was
That's the story
he was
light bulb, I think.
I just watched a movie about Edison. I can't remember what the name of it was. It was pretty good. Oh.
No, how did his brain work? He discovered hundreds of things, didn't he?
And this movie was all about the sort of fight for the energy grid of the United States at the time. Like Edison had his kind of energy, and then, God, who was his nemesis? It was more of like an entrepreneur or whatever. Well, Westinghouse, maybe was his name. Then Tesla shows up on the scene. It was a really, really good movie. But yeah, then he ended up not winning the bid for Edison's electricity to be the main one we use. It turned out to be a Tesla Westinghouse grid that we use. And they were like vying for the World Fair in Chicago. It was really fun. But then Edison went back into all of his other inventions to secure his legacy. The phonograph, the original like audio recordings, and then moving pictures. Right. And it's so cool.
Yes, when I read, because the Edison Museum was up, near where I lived, and you'd hear people talking about, Edison invented, just like weird, common, everyday things you really don't think of. Like, you think of his ideas as sort of grand, beautiful ideas, and some was just common sense that nobody else thought of before he thought, oh, we could do this. It's just, it wasn't really like a tinkering with anything, just like a better salt shaker or something. He just had that brain where he could just think of common things that could be improved too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good old Edison.
Good old science.
Now, was Benjamin Franklin a scientist,
Oh yeah, definitely.
or he was just crazy?
He was a lot of things.
Like, can you imagine last night seeing that and thinking this would be a good time to go fly a kite and see what would happen?
Finally, I can do my experiment.
Exactly.
I love those characters that I imagine they still exist today, but there's so many characters in history that were so prolific in their endeavors, like Ben Franklin, a statesman, an author, inventor, like huge contributions to various fields. Not just so many people specialized, but there's always been these characters that just seem to have that created great progress in multiple areas. It's just Renaissance man or whatever they called them. It's impressive intellects. I guess they must still exist out there today. Someone that's a great inventor and an artist and a poet.
Well, I don't get out that much.
You
Yeah, I
what we're
know where
talking
you're
about.
going with it.
I resemble these remarks.
Now, not getting into the politics at all, but how much do you think Musk is in that thing? All the stuff he's
I'm debating one of my intellectual sparring partners at the moment on this Elon Musk character, because I've for years have been curious just how smart is Elon Musk. It's just my little personal curiosity. I've had this question, and I tell you what, it is really hard to find the answer to that question. Ends up being a bit of a Rorschach test these days. Well, where are you politically?
Now, does he have a direct hand in any of the stuff that he's involved with?
I can't tell. I mean, you could some people have posed the same question about Edison. There's a lot of people that believe he's not nearly the inventor we think he is. He was actually way better at positioning himself to take credit for other people's stuff. You hire the right people, they're your team, and if you guys are my team and Lex invents a better pencil, but he's under my umbrella and I put my name on it, history might think I'm way smarter than I actually am. And so there's a lot of thoughts about Edison in that regard, that he was more of a businessman and a patenter than he was an actual inventor.
I didn't know that.
But it's debatable too. Different people have different takes on it. But Elon Musk is a very similar question. And I even asked the guy that I'm talking to, I was like, which of these things did he actually invent?
Right.
I know his name's on all of it, but is he really coming up with the innovation? Is he designing any of this?
Right.
I don't know. And I've been looking for the answer to this question for years. I hear him on these long-form interviews, and he sounds like an idiot. But he also could just be a very socially awkward genius.
Right.
I can't freaking tell. It's so frustrating to me because
I think he's just masterful at hiring.
that makes perfect sense to me. That tracks. On the other hand, I think it's so fascinating that I can't really figure the answer to this question out. How smart is Elon Musk?
Again, not getting into the politics of it at all, but also probably the part of doing that, even for Edison, it has to be that someone that has the vision.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody would have ever
Right,
thought of doing that. He gets
the
the right
concept.
team. They would have never thought to do that until they,
And I give Elon Musk a lot of credit for that. I feel like his vision and his presence and his energy has contributed a hell of a lot to our civilization. His on so many levels. I mean, he really has. The electric cars are way more prominent because of him. His space exploration and reusable rockets is huge. Starlink is used by remote people from Ukraine to us camping to bring internet to remote areas, like with these crazy satellites he has created a science fiction aspect of our modern civilization seemingly single-handedly. And I can see how like fans of his are like, oh my God, this is our Edison.
Right.
That other question haunts me
Right.
because I'm so confused about what is actually going on there and just genuinely curious. I'm not even like looking to win an argument or anything. I really want to know. But I feel like there's so much that he's contributed to us that I'd never want to just take away from being grateful to him for that. On the other hand, what he's done to X, like he took Twitter, bought it, and now it's just like a weird self-congratulating porn site with the top 20 tweets always by Musk himself. Like it's his own personal platform for conspiracy theories. It's just strange. It's absolutely surreal. And to see him like just the whole macho bro thing that's going on is just, it's all just so surreal. It's so strange.
And I totally agree with you. But we're seeing that because we're living in the times. I wonder if Edison ever had anything that people were like, just get off that kick. That's not ever going to work. But he's just like, for 10 years, and then he finally, that just gets covered up in history. You don't know that he wasted all his time, inventing, roller skates for horses or something, Like, Edison, nobody needs it. Yes, it will work. It will work, And he passes away, and his wife's like, man, just get rid of all those notes. We don't want anybody to know that.
Right. There was an interesting thing in that movie that revealed that he, talking about notes that they wanted destroyed, he had a secret agreement with the guy that invented the electric chair to be an advisor, but he was like, I will help you design the electric chair if you put Westinghouse's name on the electric chair.
Oh, wow.
But you have to burn after reading every letter, every correspondence. And the guy couldn't do it. He couldn't burn because it was from Edison, who he revered.
Right.
And it ended up getting him in all this trouble. And he ended up losing the bid to the World's Fair and all because Westinghouse got somebody in there to find these letters that proved that Edison was the actual inventor of the electric chair to a certain extent.
I gotta call a timeout.
Go ahead.
Carl in the chat says, is it just me or does anyone else see the image of a dog's face coming out of the guitar against the wall? And yes, I see it, and I'm dying laughing over here.
What's going on?
You got to come over here probably to see it, and we'll show you guys. Will have to watch the show later. But look at that dog's face coming out of the guitar.
That is so weird.
Isn't that funny?
What in the world?
You can't see. It's all the stuff.
It's just an illusion.
It's an illusion. So Carl, what's making up this
It's
illusion
beautiful, but
are
it's
like
annihilating.
4 different objects, and they're all at varying depths from the camera. And the way
I just love how you guys are all just tripping out in the chat.
It's so funny.
These.
This is the way things are discovered.
That's right.
Invented.
Yeah.
Just turn your head to the side. Steven says Albert Hoffman was working on a respiratory and circulatory stimulant when he accidentally discovered LSD, according to Google. You guys are fun. Geese in here. It looks like Lassie. They're all just talking about this illusion that's happening over here on the table.
It's such a phenomenon.
They're all just sitting there typing at each other.
You guys aren't answering any of our questions.
It's like those art pieces though that where it looks like just the ones I've seen have been like suspended. So it's like it just looks like objects that are just hung from the ceiling just randomly. But as you walk around it, they line up and they create a form.
I know
of
exactly what you're talking
Michael
about.
Jordan's
Yeah,
face.
yeah.
This will
Right.
probably be our most watched show. This will probably go viral.
All because of this
Oh
dog
yeah, they'll
over here.
just tune in to watch
Look at the
that.
dog phenomenon.
But listen, people, we're gonna leave this up 24 hours a day now. So
Yeah.
get rid of those eagles. You can watch the dog face over here on the guitar.
The Dog Face Channel in Virginia.
Have you ever heard of this museum in D.C. that Saul and Christiana just on Saturday went to this museum that apparently is on Dunlop Square or something, but I might be saying that word wrong, but it's like a hidden museum, but once you're in there, there's all these secret doors.
Oh wow!
And there's all these secret rooms. Everything in there is for sale, and it's the most incredible collection
Oh my
of
gosh!
toys and instruments and like wacky stuff that we would love.
How'd they
like,
find out about it? Is it a
I should
secret
show you a
thing,
picture.
or-
No, it's a known very famous thing. I think, which I guess is the only way something like that could work. Because I'm gathering, I feel like even the entrance is obscured. Like you have to know
man,
the
that
secret
sounds
code or whatever. Once you're in there, you could just spend days in there because
Gosh.
you walk up to a Coke machine, you're like, well, wait a second, this opens, and you open it up, and it's a doorway to a whole nother it's all secret passages and just full of just little things that we would love, little gizmos and toys and art
Sounds
and
like a road trip for
even
Kyle.
instruments and
I can see Kyle
Oh my
going
God! I
there.
can't wait to get some of that stuff in my house.
yeah, I figured it was something you've lived in before, like.
You know what we ought to do is Jabberjaw ought to pay him to go. We'll get a little camera and put on it.
Yeah, and
we
we'll
could
sit
have
here
a
and watch it.
cam, and we could
We'll be like,
watch him.
hey, pull that lever over there.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He could be our boots on the
Because
ground.
that's the only way I could do it, be vicariously.
Oh man!
That's most of what I do these days is vicariously.
That brings up today at work. I heard everybody chuckling. Can you believe this? Can you believe that? We had an insurance claim. Somebody was driving down the interstate and hit a wheelchair. Like, how did a wheelchair get
Well,
on
yeah,
the
They
interstate?
tied it to the back of the car. and
right,
it fell
yeah.
off.
I kept thinking of the family vacation.
Like, I swear I put this thing right here.
Did you forget the wheelchair again? No, I'll put it back there.
Man, I gotta
There it
find out
is.
this place. It's
Aw.
not. It's not the
I
Holocaust.
tried to open
Museum,
it in
is
Facebook. I was going to show you a little bit about this place.
Oh,
But
Did they buy anything, or is it like real expensive?
I think it's priced not to sell.
Right.
But everything has but everything from like all kinds of books to musical instruments to like.
Oh, there's a lot of people in there too. Oh, that's so cool.
No, that's just Saul and Christiana and the Beatles.
Oh, I thought those were real people back then. The Beatles aren't still alive.
Yeah.
And the Beatles. Here we are with the Beatles.
So we found one secret door here,
Oh, it's Saul finding a secret door.
cellar, and
I mean, just look at that.
is where we're at,
wow.
if I'm not mistaken. What just happened? Shut the front door.
Yeah, if you don't come out for a couple hours, do they come look for you?
Apparently, there's even like you could stay in there. There's like a hotel room. There's a
Oh,
hotel
my
room or two. You can
gosh.
actually stay the night inside. It's a whole
All right,
thing.
you have to get information.
Things are for sale in there.
Everything's for sale. Everything has a price tag on it. But I'm sort of gathering that, like I say, that everything's priced not to sell. But there is something fun about the fact that you can buy everything that you see in there. And it's just the kind. I mean, it's right up my alley. I can tell. Like it looks like this basement with a bunch of stuff I've never seen before.
Good grief.
All right, we got to take a field trip.
Yep.
Great campground. You said it's in D.C., right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a great campground right outside of D.C., right there, Bull Run State Park. It's a fantastic place. So maybe you could be on a camping list
Mm.
agenda.
I just don't usually think of DC and camping in the same.
That's
It's
good.
completely out away. It's kind of, how the amphitheater is right out of the city and stuff, but it's woods and it's really pretty through there.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Heck yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. Now I forgot what we were talking about.
Science.
Oh yeah, science.
That was a long time ago.
Science. Now, what do you think about people that doubt not all science, but doubt everything that they
Well,
studies
yeah, I
and
think
reads?
one of the things is that there's some people just don't know science, so they don't really know what they don't like, but they don't like people just telling them what to do, how to think, and they just, they think they don't really get. But at the same time, now I have seen in my lifetime a great erosion where the salesman thing has gotten into science too. So like if you say that science shows this, well then who did the science?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it's a drug company that did the science that says it does this. Well, but here they didn't again. They don't tell you all the other things. Well, they do. Everybody jokes about how any of these commercials, and they list that you have a skin rash, it'll cure that. Of course, it also might give you liver disease and make your children look like dogs, and then one of them at the end of it said, and maybe death.
Yeah.
But
Right.
go ahead and buy it so you can get your skin clear. That's where a lot of people are with science right now. It's hard to trust them.
Mm-hmm.
You want to believe, but
It is hard.
I mean, there are
9 out of 10 doctors recommended my brand of cigarettes back when I smoked.
exactly. Yeah.
While
And-
they were smoking.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It is amazing to go back and watch those old movies, and everybody's smoking.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's
Every
smoking.
businessman's having a
And
cocktail
everywhere,
at lunch.
exactly.
On the plane.
They're all drinking bourbon and in the office.
Yeah.
Like every
Yeah,
serious.
they pull out the bottle.
yeah, every-
Perry Mason, they'll pull out a bottle.
100%.
I
Yeah.
just realized this might be rare that I think all of us, I'm assuming though, have smoked on a plane.
I haven't.
Have what?
Smoked on a plane.
I remember it. Yep.
Yeah. Have you ever smoked on a plane?
Well, you
No.
never smoked. But
I
you
don't
were
smoke.
probably on a plane that smoking was happening on.
I guess I don't fly.
Right, right. Beyond
For
that.
some reason, I thought you used to smoke. I don't know why that.
No,
I was thinking that.
I started smoking a pipe about 10 years ago, and I don't like anything in my lungs.
Mm-hmm.
So the pipe doesn't go in my lungs. So I didn't. There was that other stuff that people were smoking. I didn't like to do that. I would like to have been. I'd like to have seen more edibles at the time.
Yeah. I guess they had brownies then, but yeah.
Yeah, there were those around, but I never got into that. But I didn't like smoking at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, physically, the pain of it.
Well, there's always been a
Pain of it.
there's always been a
That's the
tension.
part I didn't like.
There's always been a tension between magical thinking and scientific thinking from like day one.
Yeah, well, and a lot of that magic, actually says it can happen without any, science is based on reasoning. But also, you have to face that there are limitations to science. Like we were talking about earlier, there's a lot of things you can't study. So those are open, and then magic is where it's coming from something else, whatever that might be, but it's not privy to the same rules of reality. That's my idea of magic. It's supernatural.
Right.
So,
Right.
so scientists are saying, there's a lot of things you just can't prove, and that's where as a scientist, I would say that there can definitely be magic, And there's definitely lots of things science hasn't got to yet or can't study or hadn't done yet, or that we're wrong about from the data we have right now.
We could be wrong about all of it.
Could be wrong about everything, we're just making it up.
We could be thinking we're measuring the natural world, but we're actually only measuring our perception of the natural world.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it. I'm sure at some level there's some type of quark would just definitely agree with you.
Right, exactly.
You're not even giving me credit for being here.
Well, I became a diabetic in like 1973 or something, and it was, the doctor said no sugar. I mean, that was the thing, no sugar. I could eat all the pizza, all the pasta, bread, everything I wanted.
Right.
And then, so I just didn't eat sugar, but I ate every other thing. Then, 10 years ago or 20 years ago, they're like, oh, it's carbs. So I just basically lived my whole life giving up sugar for no reason because I was eating everything else that was doing the exact same thing to me. But that was the best theory or guess or whatever, that they had at that time.
Right.
So now,
Best science at the time.
right. So when I got on this pump and stuff, and they were like, well, you can eat cake or whatever. I'm like, well, no, I'm just not used to it. They're like, well, you've been eating all this other crap. Why don't you now? You can't eat cake. Why don't you? But it was just so ingrained in me because that's what I remember, like, I would go to a birthday party for a kid's birthday party, wolf down 8 pieces of pizza. Oh, I can't have any of the cake, when the pizza was just as bad for me if I had eaten 8 pieces of cake, They just didn't know it back then. So it is like an ever changing. The more you learn, the more you have to, adjust.
Yeah, and a new revelation can come along and like prove that the science on a certain idea has been wrong for decades.
Yeah.
And you see that, and especially if it happens to you personally, like that did, you can understand why someone would be like, sure, the science.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be very frustrating.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
you don't want to make it, more than it is, but it is. It's the best way we have figured out the world so far. All these things you're talking about, Edison and all that, but it's all based on science.
Right.
Einstein and everything.
Yeah, if Edison had adopted some attitude of disregarding all the science that came before him, he never would have invented anything. Like, you have to, I guess a lot of it just comes down to what is it you're trying to do.
Now there's also, you talk about magic, but there's also is that the almost magical of taking that data and coming up with a creative idea. It's I see him as being very creative and spontaneous. So if he was, as a scientist, you have to come up with the enlightened idea of it's using the science to come up with the magic.
Right.
The science is just a tool, and then you can go somewhere, but it's just a better way to travel because it's actually works on the road better than magic to start with.
Right.
Or myth. Let's just put it that way. What we've been taught to think about things. A lot of those, I'm going through a lot of that lately, of seeing that the things I was taught when I was young were just myths. They were people were holding on to the way things were, but even as a young child, I had problems with a lot of what they were telling me because it didn't make sense to me. It wasn't scientifically proven and ended up being wrong.
Right.
We've been wrong about a lot of stuff.
Now,
But that's okay. That's part of learning.
I got into a discussion last week that somebody told me it was insult. No, what was the word? For men to hold the door open for women is an outdated, bad thing. And I was like, man, I think it's just ingrained in me. They're like, why don't you hold the door open for everybody? I was like, I do basically hold the door open for everybody, but it's just ingrained in me. If you see a woman coming, that you hold the door. And they're like, that's sexist, and I was trying to say, no, it's a good thing. I mean, even if it's a bad thought, you're not hurting anybody by doing that. And they're like, well, you should hold it. And I think I think maybe it was because they know dudes are just sloppy and they're not going to hold the door. But if you can hold the door for a woman, And then maybe after 100 years of doing that, then you realize, well, we can hold the door for everybody. You know, be polite to everybody. They're like, why would you treat a woman different? And I was like, I can't explain it. That's just the way. I mean, I was personally brought up that way. I think probably y'all were too, you know. And it's like, why? Because a woman works and, you know, she keeps the house and you have to hold the door for her when she's too weak. I was like, oh my God, you're taking this way too far. You know?
No, it's just because of this little badge I've got here.
What are you talking about?
He's fishing for his new.
What's it
I still haven't
say?
even seen his sticker yet.
Yeah.
I'm just.
Oh, you don't know what I'm
part of
talking-
the audience.
You didn't get that joke?
No, well,
He didn't share it with anyone.
No, was holding the door open for an elder or a
lost
woman? Was that taught to you? Or is that
Wow,
something
what
you
is the
do,
hell
or-
is that?
I mean, I feel like
That is weird.
he's finding some weird stuff in
He's
his
just
pocket
finding
here.
stuff over here in his pocket.
Let's wait till he's back
strange.
with us.
I don't know where my badge is. Oh, I found my pipe. I forgot my pipe was here.
I feel like there's so many examples that are similar to that where all perspectives are valid, and we really struggle with that these days. Like,
Ooh.
I feel like people really struggle having two conflicting perspectives or ideas in their brain at the same time,
Yeah, you're right.
and it frustrates me that we're so limited in that regard.
Right.
That someone couldn't just appreciate both perspectives on
Right.
that. They both have a time and place, and you got to read the room,
Right. that's
and you
right.
got to treat people like individuals. And but you see that all the time.
Right.
Like, and if you're like, well, what's right, what's wrong? It's like all the above. They're all right. They're all wrong. I mean, it's like we're not going to be able to provide that kind of comfort where you just know
Right.
you're doing the right thing. Like, you're just going to have to step up at a certain point and be who you are. And
Well, it got me thinking.
be willing to grow as well. Like, you know, like, I don't know. It's I love the tension in that to a certain extent.
It just got when we were talking about it later. I was thinking, were men such apes back in the day? They would just open the door and just walk through, and start slamming somebody's face, and then somebody had to say, "Hey, why don't we just start, you know, to try to make ourselves a little bit better? If you see a lady, hold the door open for her." And then people were like, "God, that's a wild idea," you know. And then it became, you just got used to it, so you said, "Well, I'll just hold it open for the guy behind me too." So now it's just, I think it's just general natural kindness. You hold the door open for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I see a woman coming and a man's behind her, I'm not gonna let the door close in his face, you know. But
I mean, there's so many of those moves that are like that. What's the difference? There's chauvinism, and then there's chivalry. It's like if a man just instinctively insists that his wife or his woman walk on, like, he's by the cars and she's on this side,
away
and
from the mud splash.
yeah, away from the mud splash or whatever. Like, there's it's a fine line between chauvinism and chivalry,
Right.
and you just gotta read the room. But for every woman that is offended by him thinking she should walk, that he should be between her and the cars,
Right.
there's gonna be another woman that really appreciates that energy. Like, and you're just gonna have to navigate life accordingly and be open to all those perspectives, and don't like insist on the woman that's offended by it that she obey.
You have to go over.
Because now you're doing the thing, you know. But I don't know. I saw one that's like a very similar tension. Someone had a meme the other day talking about how borders are BS, and you know, like how you got a line here and there's Canada and there's the United States, and it's just an arbitrary thing that we made up,
Right.
that we put all this energy into. And even like Bill Hicks his commentary on patriotism, it should just be your parents having sex on the flag because that's all that really happened. And now you're fervently patriotic. It's like
Right.
you could have been born anywhere.
Right.
Like you're raised in this religion or this religion,
Right.
and you're devout when it's all just arbitrary that you happen to be born into that family. But now it's the right, like,
Right.
and there's a beautiful tension there. On one level, you're just always a slight step away from realizing how arbitrary and made up and BS it all is.
Right.
And on the other hand, there's this profound beauty to having a culture, having a family, having traditions, having all these things to help define you and to
Right.
aspire to. Like, to be a young boy and to look at a man and want to become a man, or a young girl and want to become a woman. Like, all these things are arbitrary, but they're also profoundly beautiful. Like,
Right.
and if you're firmly in either camp, to me that's annoying. I want people to have nuance and complexity in their appreciation of, like, yeah, on one hand, it's all BS,
Right.
and on the other hand, it's all profoundly beautiful.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
But you see that tension all over the place.
Oh, definitely. I think it's very good analysis of it. A lot of issues that they're not. It's not a question of right or wrong. It's a question of perspective. And it's fun to hear different perspectives up to a point.
Up to a point, right?
And when they pull the gun, I just agree with them and leave.
Right. You're absolutely right. I'm out of here.
But I don't go back.
Right. No, 100%. And I
That
mean,
was
like,
good.
anybody that tries to fully embrace one of either side has that gun at some point, like the true patriot, or the one that thinks borders are murder, or like that refuses to respect that anybody would have I don't know.
I always think about that type of situation. It's like there's 15% of here that get it. There's 15% here that get it they just got it without thinking about it. They're just hardcore, and that's the way they think. And then you have these in the middle that are in between and thinking and are potentially going to have different perspectives. And some people aren't going to change because they just don't know about changing, or they don't want to change. But other people are open to it up to a point, and there's degrees of that. Now you strike me, based on your talking earlier and today, is that you're one of those people that is right there in the middle and can see both sides, and that's what you need in leadership. That's the problem with our Congress right now. You got 15%. You don't have anybody crossing the aisle talking about what's good for the people.
We are really hurting in terms of leadership in that regard.
Exactly.
'Cause
It's sad.
it is sad and terrifying.
Yeah. We used to have, not everybody was like that, but they knew and respected who was like that. And you just don't have that much of that anymore. Most people are bought and paid for. At least that's what the people in my neighborhood think.
Now, what do you think of? Do you think an idea? Like, let's say this, because this is what we were talking about, and I don't know why I keep focusing on this later, but let's just narrow it down to holding the door for a woman,
Okay.
and it's evolved until we hold the door for everybody. Is there anything? If it's not hurting anybody, is there anything wrong to stick to those beliefs? Like, I don't think anybody's actually ever been hurt because you held a door for a woman. But like you said, maybe if somebody's like, nobody wants a door dropped in their face. I can't imagine a woman's ever going to say, or any man even, like, oh, thank you for dropping the door in my face. It shows that you treat me as an equal.
I could see where it could be threatening, just depending on the situation. It's like, no, I don't want you behind me. It's cool. You can go first. You know what I mean?
Oh, like, so holding the door and letting them in.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. If it's a stranger,
Yeah.
then they're putting themselves in a dominant position in several ways that makes the person vulnerable, and
Right.
it's just like, dude, just keep moving.
Right.
Well, not even hold the door.
You said it so well. I don't need
Well,
you behind me.
Well, that is true, but I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking when you go like to the grocery store and somebody behind you, you just put your hand up and hold it so the door doesn't slam. I agree with what you're saying. But you know, like when you go in somewhere, you go into 7-Eleven, you just hold the door with your hand. You don't let them go in front of you, but you hold the door for them.
Right. Instead of dropping it on them.
Right.
But I agree there.
Yeah, I do agree with
I
that.
was going in the food line the other day. This old guy pulled the door open. I just punched him.
Right. Just
I didn't
you
trust.
can't be too
I
safe.
didn't trust him. Man.
Yep.
Something about him.
Yep. Something off.
The way he pulled that door
Just
back
off.
like that.
But that's a good point, Lex. I didn't think about that.
That is a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are you holding the door so you can walk behind me and check me out or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or like trying to be noticed by me.
Right. Oh yeah.
You
Oh,
never
Mr.
There's,
do-
Nice.
there's so many angles.
Give yourself a break, buddy. You know what I mean?
You'd never do that in the old West because Guy'd pull a gun behind. You know, he'd be behind you.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he can get the draw on you.
Exactly. I do always appreciate it when someone holds the door for me, though.
I do too.
Yeah.
Well, because right when we had the discussion the same day I'd gone to the post office and I had.
Now, excuse me. Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
I just had this thought when you said that I like to have the door open for me, and then I made this thought consciously, especially if it's a good-looking woman, and then I realized that that's wrong. I shouldn't have thought that, based on your
You
discussion.
probably shouldn't have said. You probably shouldn't have said it
'Cause
on
that-
air. You probably should have told us that after the show was over.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that thought, is there?
Well, yeah, I think that's very argumentative based on the other levels of discussion that I shouldn't be thinking that way.
I guess it is. I mean, 'cause I'm seeing it from a man's point of view, where I've never.
That's part of my point.
Yeah, I've never held a door open just so I could jump somebody, and you know. But
But you have had thoughts about some woman. You open the door open for them, and don't lie.
You know, I mean, think about it. Like, and they walk by and, oh, great, this guy's checking me out now. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah,
Pervert.
yeah, they'd be right.
but
At least a third of the time. In this,
But just the day it happened, I'd gone to the post office with a few little boxes in my hand. I could easily get the door. And this man walked out, and the door was closed, and he was walking to his car, and I go, oh, he said, oh, let me get the door for you. And I was like, oh, no, I got it, you know. But it made you, I didn't feel special, but it made you feel nice that somebody, it made you feel nice, it made me feel nice that he offered an act of kindness to me, which
Well,
I didn't
yeah.
need, but, you know, so I don't think it's a bad thing. But if he had come up behind me, like, you know, rubbed up against me or something, I'd be like, hey, you know, I got to do this. So I can see that.
you got to
would be-
read the
Yeah, I can
tape.
see that would be like, you know. Oh, yeah, I thought you were leaving. No, I'm standing in line behind you. Oh, you know. I can see how that would be creepy.
Yeah.
See, I didn't-
It is interesting. I mean, that just I've been going through this deep dive of the first season of Saturday Night Live because we watched the movie about the opening night of Saturday Night Live that's on Netflix right now, which is pretty good. I definitely recommend it. But it's the second it was over, the whole movie is just about the opening night, first time Saturday Night Live ever went to
Oh,
air.
wow. I hadn't heard of it.
And so immediately after that, I bought a month's worth of Peacock so I could watch the original episode of Saturday Night Live. And now I've gone down the rabbit hole of just going through the first season. And last night they had Murphy Brown was the first female host, episode 4, season 1. And there was a whole interesting moment with her and Gilda Radner, and they were talking about ERA and stuff. And they were also talking about the phenomenon of like your first date when you're a kid and the rules that they had about like, well, you let like opening the car door for the woman. And that was like a whole protocol there was a whole, and everybody was indoctrinated into those rituals of dating, and like the man opens the car door for the woman, and like all those. I need to go back and watch it again to see how it really applies to this conversation. But it's just so interesting how those rituals were taught to
Right.
young people or whatever, and then you go through the performance of those things, and there's something really fun and interesting about it, and also problematic, because it's you're talking about back when men were dominant and women were subservient, and women weren't allowed to
Right.
vote or work in the workplace, and like all these ways that they're held down. And then you see these protocols and rituals that seem to affirm these roles of her being subservient, and like and it had to happen where they're like, where women were like, stop opening the door
Right,
for me. That
right.
just had to happen. Like,
Right.
on the other hand, there's nothing wrong with people, after we've gained those perspectives, of liking that ritual
Right.
and liking those roles and embracing them, like forcing them on people or expecting them, or I don't know, like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anything inherently wrong as long as everybody is enjoying the dynamic
Right.
that's happening, and as long as people aren't insisting that that's the dynamic that has to happen.
Well, when I lived in New Jersey, that happened. We would go out. I worked with mostly women, so a lot of times I was like the only dude that was out with all the coworkers and stuff. And one time I was walking. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. The bars were closed, and I was walking a friend of mine to her car, and she goes, "Well, you don't have to do that." I'm like, "Oh, no, I don't have to."
See,
She's like,
there you go. That's that thing, right?
I know. And she said, she goes, "What's?" I mean, she goes, "I totally trust you. It's sort of creepy that have somebody walk you to the car." And I said, "Oh, I was just doing it to make sure you got there all right." She goes, "Well, maybe that's the way it is in Virginia, but in New Jersey, you don't want somebody just walking you to the car." I was like, God, I did feel sort of bad, like, gosh. But then I also would have felt bad if I just said, "All right, later," and walked to my car and turned my back on her. And that's, I don't know, maybe that's some male. I mean, if they're gonna get her, they could easily take me too. Beat the shit out. I'm not like I'm gonna protect her at all, but it's
Power
get out of here, boy!
numbers.
All right, I'd have run away, But it's maybe that's just like an ingrained thing, like.
Is it a Southern comfort thing? Like, Southern niceness, charm?
Well, it's definitely, I would say, and it's got to be
regional?
reinforced by cultural norms, and
I'm
like,
just wondering if, it exists around here so much, but in New Jersey, nobody's thinking about that.
I don't want you walking to the car with me. Yeah, it is weird to see it. I just thought, oh, that's, I don't think I even really thought about it. I just did it, get you to your car, and then I'll go find my car.
But that's the way you were brought up.
Right, but she could be seeing it. What if it was a first date and the guy said, all your friends leave, and he says, I'll walk you to the car, and you're like, I really don't know who this guy is, what are his intentions?
That's the way she was brought up.
mm-hmm.
You're just recapitulating what your culture has taught you.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially when you're young, you don't have a whole lot of intellectual learning. You just learn what your parents and your friends and everybody around you is doing. And when I was growing up, it was the way a gentleman treated a lady
Right.
was with respect, and you took care of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't see a
Oh,
thing.
goodness.
We didn't see a thing wrong with it at
Right.
the time.
I mean, we could talk ignorantly about this for hours
But it isn't.
because it's fascinating. I mean, there's the,
No, it's great.
there's
It's a good topic.
that I feel like everybody would have something interesting to say on this topic. Like what does it mean to you, or whatever. It's all interesting, and the idea that there's some right or wrong, like is it right for a man to feel like he has to protect a woman? You could say that's wrong, but then,
But it's
there's
also
plenty of
like-
women that love that energy. Like
Right.
there's plenty. It.
But the other thing about the issue is, what does it hurt? Who does it hurt? A lot of these things we're talking about are just like custom or something, but they don't have an effect. Whereas, if I'm opening the door for you, I'm not trying to hurt you.
Right.
Now that's where it got misinterpreted with Alexa's example, because I'm, you know, opening the door for you. I might be trying to get behind you so I can hurt you. So there's a threat there. But just to say, I was brought up this way and I think that, and you were brought up that way, you think differently. We ought to be able to, just like you were talking about earlier, we ought to be able to figure that out between the two of us and not get bent out of shape.
But the horrible thing too is that I, as a guy, am not thinking I'm going to be jumped and attacked. Maybe women just think. Like I was walking home from downtown one time, talking to a friend on the phone. She's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm walking home from downtown, like whatever, the bar's too close." She goes, "Who are you with?" I said, "Nobody." She goes, "God, I would love to be able to walk, like go to a bar and just walk home alone and feel safe." And I was like, you know, I was doing it just thinking nothing's going to happen to me.
But then on the other hand, that's why you might, as a good man, want to offer your services.
Exactly.
And now you're back to like, is it chivalry or chauvinism? I don't know.
Segued right around the corner. Came around, just lapped the whole thing. Love it.
Now we're going to be electrically shocked.
Yeah, that way when you're walking around with her, then some other creep is thinking, oh, she's already been captured. So
He got to her first.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, Nathan's doing one of his
It
tricks
was a
again.
gum incident. It just happened.
I thought you were going to pull out more of those scars like you did that one time.
Oh my goodness.
the gum just keeps coming out.
It is a magic trick I'm doing to myself. I want you to read my mind, to see the trees and not be blind. Don't want to leave you far behind as I walk off on down the line. Oh, this world is make-believe. There's angels hiding in the trees. There's demons selling apple cider, and I'm raking Whitman's leaves. And all the drills are banging, and all the bells are clanging, and all the sky is hanging from a hook. And it's like I'm in a painting, in a scene in a movie, being watched by somebody in a book. Whoa, I've seen the world, the bitter world, the sweet world, the glory world, and to this day I'm still not sure which one is right outside my door. I've lost my way in mad meadows. I've seen love laugh on tippy toes. In photographs I've seen repose, and the emperor without any clothes. And all through the valley, and all across the nation, and all the way to heaven on a rail. And by the smell of flowers, and by the song of the birds, and the stars on a clear night never fail. There are those that can't be still and still be free. I think I always will be me. I'm not sure what I believe, but I'm pretty sure God believes in me. Faith is what we have in science. Fate is what we have in store. I've ridden on the backs of giants. What a way to see the world. My head knows all the questions. My heart knows all the answers. They each speak a different tongue. It's like building bridges, from the music to the dancers, from the morning to the setting sun. Whoa.
Man, that was beautiful.
Wow, I love that.
Thank you.
Where did that come
That's
from?
an old one. Whitman's Leaves.
I was just getting ready to say, Raking Whitman's Leaves. What a great line.
Thank you.
That's a whole different version or something?
That was the original. The version we did was a new spin on an oldie.
That was wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
It was perfect.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I couldn't believe how well that tied the
Yeah,
conversation.
it really did.
Thank you so much. We will see you next time. It's so fun to be with you.
Love you.
Bye.
If you need one of us to walk you home, we'll be glad to.
Whoever you are.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to say
I'm
anything.
going to hold the door open for all y'all.
Yeah.
So I'm checking all y'all out.
You can be an ugly midget. I'll open the door for you.
And as Whitman said, little do you know the subtle electric fire that burns inside me when you are near.
What's that?
That's my favorite Whitman line. Little do you know the subtle electric fire that burns inside me when you are near.
Wow. That's so good. Now, he had a sampler, didn't he?
Yeah.
He put out a sampler.
Yeah, it was like a set. His friends